Okay, I guess we're gonna start it like this. Hello everyone, this is PIBSTReviews. I am Kryo,
I'm Kryo.
and we are going to be reviewing Mass Effect Andromeda's multiplayer. We feel that we're in a pretty good spot to judge this game since we've played, I'd say, a fair bit of the original game.
I mean, it came out 5 years ago and feels like we're still playing it.
Yeah, for sure. But in this video, we're going to be covering three main topics. That's going to be the aesthetics, the UI, and the gameplay. Let's get right into it. Okay, let's talk about the aesthetics. Kryo, do you have anything?
I don't know. For the most part, it looks and feels still like Mass Effect. I was expecting a bit more. We're in a new galaxy. Some different looking aliens, maybe, as opposed to things that kind of look like reskinned Cerberus. Fighting a lot of people who are just like, oh, here's a Turian again. Here's another Krogan. And so it would have been nice to see a little bit more varied species in the multiplayer. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I have to agree, because, like, the two factions, the Outlaws and the Ket, they both share this same dog design that runs at you and functions pretty much the same way. They attack you, they grab you, and it just feels lazy to me.
I don't know, man. Are you sure about that? One of them's a fucking Stegosaurus.
Ugh. You can
Too
love your
mad hype.
Stegosaurus dog all you want, man. It's not for me.
Yeah, they're a little bit too close to each other. I mean, one's invisible, one warps around. But, I don't know, like the other one doesn't breathe fire or multiply when it jumps at you. It's just another thing that, like, lunges on you, grabs onto you, and you have to, spam E.
But actually, while we're on the design here, I do have to say that there are some that do feel pretty inspired to me, like the Remnant. I actually really like these flying jellyfish robots and little bunny bots hiding behind cover. I think it's pretty adorable, actually.
I like the design of them. I hate fighting them. I hate observers. But the observers do kind of remind me of the Sentinels from the Matrix, the squiddies, bitch in 3/4 to kill with laser things shooting at you. It's stuck to fight, but at the very least, it's different from just like bipedal, two-armed thing with gun. It's kind of nice.
But while we're on the subject of aesthetics, I do actually have to point something out that I think some other people have been. It's more of a returning thing. When you fire a gun, there's a muzzle flash, but the flash is a little bit much. I believe there should be a seizure warning in place for this game.
I think you should expect bright lights and flashes in a sci-fi game, but to be fair, I know what you're talking about. It's the kineticist. And that thing, it's like a Polaroid, and it's a bit much. It's kind of annoying.
Alright, let's move on to the UI, because a lot of people have been hating on it.
I also hate on it. I really don't like it. Okay, what they were trying to do, it seems, is like they're trying to slap a lot of polish on for the last game. Like the last game against the multiplayer lobby, static portraits of everyone's characters. They're just buttons on the side, text on stuff. They light up when you go over it. Real simple. This one, it's great. We get to load in and watch our characters all stand next to each other, scratching their nuts. But it's no longer like windows against the background, text on solid colors. If you look at the mission settings, like where it says, oh, you're finding this person on this map, on this difficulty, on the right, I couldn't find it first because it was just gray and white text on a complex background. It's not easy to read.
It really doesn't pop.
A lot of things in the UI don't pop. I was looking for the weapons and powers button, but apparently it's under character customization instead of weapons or powers. Because when you think character customization, I would think changing the costume around, which you do there, but also weapons and powers and boosters. And the buttons there are not clear, easy buttons. A see-through button on the top. There's four of them. One of them's a lightning bolt. I think that one's powers. It's not. It's boosters. I don't like what they've done with it. They tried to make it all fancy and shit, but it didn't help with making it not feel cluttered.
I mean, the game does let you change things after you ready up, which not many games do.
That's true. That's kind of nice.
But then again, it's sort of a giveth and taketh away because there's a check-in, a server check-in for almost
everything
in the game. Just changing weapons, skills, understandable, but mods and all of those things, everything requires a little check-in.
It's not a small check-in either. Like a big thing comes up and says, hold up, communicating with server for like half a second every time you try and make a change to something.
Yeah, now that you mention it, I would prefer the original system where it didn't let me change things when I read it up at all.
Yeah. I don't know. It seems unnecessarily taxing for their servers to do this many checks, especially on launch. Like, one issue that I know you've been having and I've been having, I've been bitching about for days, is the whole network connection losing issue. which happens in game and in the menu because it checks all these little things, and you just keep getting dropped. And I can't help but think that if they didn't have all these server checks for every little thing, then the server load that every individual player would be putting on them will be a lot less.
Yeah, I have to agree. The server-side drops are just way too frequent. I remember us spending, what had to have been 30 minutes to an hour trying to just start a match and just play the damn game.
Yeah, I swear I'd be balling rich by now if they didn't drop me like Extraction Wave like 90 billion times. Because you don't get to keep it. You keep nothing. You have to either extract or die, get to that final screen to get the credits and experience that you got out of that match. It's fucking ridiculous because they check everything else. Everything else in the game has to require communication with server, and they couldn't check for that.
I want to touch on a big problem with the UI that's been annoying me personally to no end. The changing of functions for buttons and menus. Now, buttons changing function isn't anything new. If you're RPG man, your Y button is going to do different shit in your stat screen than it is in your inventory. That makes sense. Sort function isn't going to apply there. But this fucking game. In the lobby, if your cursor is over the menu tabs on the right, the V button functions as inspect team. But once you inspect team or move your cursor over a teammate, the V button function changes from inspect to kick player. Who even thinks like this? I've had fever dreams about UIs this shitty. Those are very different functions for literally, not figuratively, the same menu. Okay, before we go straight into gameplay, the skill tree, it's a minor gripe, but I do not enjoy having to math out all of these little boosts that you get in your powers, because it states what your power does base, right? But as you level it up, it gives you bonuses. But the bonuses aren't added to the thing. You have to, under your stats, it has little pluses and bonuses, like, oh, 20% duration to your thing. And it's like, do you really want me to do, why couldn't you just do this for me? And actually, I think that's kind of the whole essence of this UI. It doesn't convey information. It doesn't do what a UI is supposed to do.
It's also a couple of annoying things. There's one I'm growing gripe about, and that's the sticky grenade. That says 45 damage per second over time, but it doesn't say how much time. I didn't take it. I didn't take it because I didn't know how much this dot was going to be. So I took the other one, whatever the hell it was. It's so ambiguous.
Logic dictates there that it's the sticky grenade on the enemy that damage over time, the sticky grenade touching the enemy. But then again, that's kind of...
That'd be weak. It takes like a second or two to explode. That's like, what, 90 more damage, 45 more damage? It's nothing in this game.
No, that's true. But my point was that it would be nice for them to actually tell us the duration there.
Yeah.
It's just a slight little add-on that would improve the player experience.
Yeah.
Alright, and finally, and probably the most important, the gameplay.
Mm-hmm.
What's your opinion?
It feels a lot more difficult, but not in a fun way. Like, enemies have a lot more health. Like, it's just massive how many shots they need to take. And even to the weak spots, which are even more difficult to hit now. I mean, it's kind of nice, because in the last game, they kind of just walked at you. But now, they move around a little bit more. It might just be bad pathing or latency, but it seems like they're trying a bit more not to get hit in the head, which would be fun if it weren't for the fact you had to hit them in the head, because they have 1 billion health. It's kind of annoying.
The more I actually play the game, the more I believe that the sporadic movements are a latency problem. And that is probably a symptom of the peer-to-peer stuff, but the latency shouldn't affect it this much. I've shot enemies who were behind cover looking dead at me. I noticed that there was some lag in that game when I entered, but he was very close, and I shot him in the head, and it ticked away as a regular hit. And that actually brings up the problem that latency is affecting the weak points. The laggier your game is, the harder it is to actually hit anything.
It's really not great, especially since we have the flying enemies now with, like, the remnants. Big-ass tanky sentinels with shields and a ton of health, lasering you. It would be nice if you could take them down in a timely fashion, instead of just, you have to either decide to eat a bunch of damage or just gun it and run it.
And it feels like the weak points are the only way to really deal with enemies in this game. Because the powers that we used in Mass Effect 3, all those glory days of biotic explosions, fire explosions, and all a bunch of this crazy stuff.
They're still in the game.
Yeah, but it feels gimped.
Super gimped.
The explosions in particular, they were supposed to do a large amount of damage. That was supposed to be a reward for combining powers or working together as a team. But even on bronze, you fire a power and then it explodes, and then the enemy loses half their health. Which sounds kind of nice, but your cooldowns are on 15 seconds to 10 seconds usually. That is not efficient. You would be far better off just hitting them or shooting them.
Yeah, well, it would be anyway if half the guns didn't suck.
Oh, yeah, that's true. It feels that the weapon balance is just all over the place. I mean, you couldn't count on some gold guns before, like the Revenant, but
Yeah,
like...
and what the Christ they turned into after they nerfed it.
Oh, good times. But the point is, in Andromeda, it feels even more so that certain weapons are the only thing that will do damage. I mean, in the original game, you could use the Maddock. I remember using the Maddock on like silver and gold in the early days with my Vanguard. It was a good gun, but with the tankiness of the enemies and the latency of trying to hit heads, it feels like there's only a select group of guns that really have an effect on the match.
Yeah, well, really a specific type of gun, just the sniper.
That's true. I've seen almost every build people take in on gold includes some sniper of some kind. Just on every character. Well, the Vanquisher is a really popular one right now, but every build I've seen has a sniper, which is... I don't feel like that's how the game is supposed to be developed or supposed to work around snipers all the time.
I mean, I tried using the other ones. I have a couple good weapons. I have the Hesh shotgun, I have the scatter shot, I have the Sandstorm assault rifle, and all of them suck on bronze. Like, maybe you have to stack into some skills, get your weapon skills up, and have the right kind of latency and predictability to hit something's head all the time. But even gold weapons are supposed to be like, I got this thing, this should carry me through bronze to some extent, but it doesn't feel that much better even than the Avenger or the Katana, except for the Talon. That's the Cerberus shotgun pistol, and it's good, but it's better than all the shotguns I have, which is ridiculous.
What? Well, in fairness, the Talon in the original game was pretty good. It's good to hear that it's still good. I love that weapon, but
Yeah. So basically, you need a sniper rifle or the Talon as of right now.
Pretty much.
Yeah, in the last game, you could pretty much count on a gold weapon, or even a black weapon if you get it, to carry your characters in case you need them. Like, in case you want prestige and your N7 level up or whatever. Like, you could just, like, I'll just drop my Harrier on my Batarian Grenadier and just level up through 20 super quick. And it wouldn't be too big of an issue because you could play through all your other stuff, like the Destroyer and everything. That was all the soldier class.
Right.
And everything was under classes in Mass Effect 3. But this one, you have to level them individually. You have to get your human Vanguard female up, and then get your human Vanguard male up. It really sucks. Because before getting a new class, it felt good. Like, if you had someone leveled up already, like, oh, sweet, I got the Collector. And, like, you could just, I'm level 20 Adept. I'm going to pump into him, and let's see what we got. But now you get that. Like, you get your Asari Huntress or whatever, and you start at 1. And you think to yourself, I have to go back down to bronze for this. And leveling takes a long, long time, especially when you keep getting dropped. And the terrible early game, it's just exacerbated by the fact that you have to do it so much more to get everyone up. So much so that you don't want to prestige. You want to have your level 20, that you could just keep taking into gold to keep getting credits. Because there's no point. Well, there's a small point to getting to the end. And that's the permanent upgrades?
Yeah, I think each class has their own permanent upgrade that levels up as you play characters of those type, and then eventually you get some kind of statistical bonus. But I can say from experience that actually getting it is kind of lackluster, because, 1% increases per level? That's for millions of XP that you have to gain?
Yeah, I'd rather have the old system that you can level up everyone in your class at once, as opposed to this thing. Alright, I want to talk about the character cards in this game. It's not like the last game where you get experience from them. In this one, you get skill points from them. And the problem with that is that the skill points that you get from getting all these character cards add up to only very slightly more than the last game. It's like 1 skill point more. And it just feels like we're working that much harder and having to deal with that much more RNG for the same amount of skill points. It feels like they're trying to force us to grind a little bit more. Because if you're working on your human female sentinel and suddenly you draw a bunch of cards for your male sentinel, it's like, well, I guess that guy's just superior now. Do I go over and use him, or do I just hope that I can draw some more human female sentinel cards?
Alright, but there are some of the highlights. There are some, like, very big changes that came to Mass Effect Andromeda. One of them is the movement, jump jets.
Yeah, I mean, okay, look, we've been comparing a lot of things to the last game negatively, which is, I think it's in our right to do. It's a sequel and all that, but yeah, I do like jumping around. It's really nice. Like, there's a lot less getting stuck in corners when you can just like boost out like Superman.
Yeah, the jump jets, I have to say, are very satisfying, and they allow you to get to some pretty interesting places. It really ramps up the gameplay into another dimension. I know that's dramatic, but the verticality of combat, you really notice it when you start playing Andromeda. It takes a little bit getting used to, but I've been having a lot of fun with that, and I think it's a net positive with almost no downsides.
There's a couple. I mean, look, it's accounted for, so in order to get through the game properly, you're gonna have to make use of it. Plus, it's also fun, but it's a little difficult trying to grab ledges sometimes. Like, if you just jump straight up, sometimes your character won't grab the ledge, you just jump there while you're getting shot by everyone. It takes some getting used to having to jump at angles to trigger the, oh, I can climb up this wall now animation.
Yeah, on really heavy latency games, the jump jets and all this quick movement doesn't help at all.
No, especially if you're in a rush somewhere and it's like you have to jump on a ledge to jump on another ledge. Like, they have these boxes lying around to give you a little bit more height so you can make it to ledges. And sometimes you just stumble off, or something will hit you and you'll just stumble, and it kind of sucks.
Honestly, latency in this game will impede your enjoyment to a massive degree. It's always like that. I mean, every game is like that, but
This one's really bad.
well, because it relies a lot on movement. But if you're hosting, or if you're in a good game with good latency, it's pretty fun.
Yeah.
Okay, but what about the other big change that they made? The cover. They changed the cover system from a button system to a sticky cover, an auto cover system.
Well, it was kind of nice moving away from the one button fits all thing, where they made everything space. Sprinting is space, ducking to cover is space. Now, sprinting is shift, jumping is space. And cover just activates automatically when you move into it, which has all the problems you'd expect. Like, it's sticky, which means sometimes when your character doesn't want to do it, like if you're really trying to move through a situation, your character's like, oh, I gotta rub my dick along this wall. It's kind of annoying.
Yeah, I've had some moments where I shoot an enemy that comes up behind me, because enemies are always flanking you, but a small movement as you're looking to the side, a little tap of the button, and then your character is standing up out of the cover. And in order to get back into the cover, you need to look in the direction and then move into it again. I get that it's streamlined, I get what they're trying to do, but it's not for me.
No, they get rid of grabs too.
Oh, that's true. There's no grabs over cover.
Yeah, that used to be super satisfying.
Well, I mean, that goes into the melee of the thing, because I think there's only a light melee as of right now.
Well, there's only a light standing melee.
I guess you're talking about the jump melee where you come down, you slam the ground. It's entertaining, but every single character has it. There's no uniqueness. Like, even the biotics use like some Omni tool thing and slam the ground. It doesn't feel unique. There's no soul to that. I really like that about Mass Effect 3. Each character had an individual sort of animation or motion for their melee. Like, the Batarian had unique animations for rifle and SMGs and pistols. Those really got me into the character. But we're not going to have any of that.
No, just light melee for days. And they don't even chain into each other. It's just stab, stab, stab. Not like before. I don't know. There is a class with a sword. One of the Asaris. It just seems like regular slices.
That's true. But another point of the gameplay has to be the glitches. Everywhere in this game, there is glitches happening.
Sometimes I just lose audio, like all audio except for people talking straight off the bat. Sometimes it's a small annoying thing where the announcer guy doesn't say, oh, an objective's popped in. He'll just like, an objective will pop in and you just have to be paying attention to see that small little icon just suddenly appear subtly somewhere on your screen to start moving there. It's a little annoying.
Well, other points about gameplay, they changed the amount of waves, which is kind of important. Instead of 10, now you fight 7 waves and then extract.
Yeah, well, yeah, the 7th wave is extraction.
Yeah, I like it. It makes the games quicker. It allows you to get your credits fast. It'll help you if you disconnect because your games are faster. That's a little spiteful comment, but yeah.
It's a little less of a loss that you're getting from these constant disconnects.
Yeah.
So what do you think overall?
Well, overall for the game, I'd have to say wait for a sale. If you're going to get Mass Effect Andromeda, it is a decent game, but it's not worth the $60. I suggest you wait for a sale when you can get it, and hopefully at a time later when they fix all of these issues that we've complained about.
Yeah. By the time a sale comes up, the amount of people playing will be a lot less, which it won't be as taxing for the servers, so you'll probably get less network issues. Hopefully they'll fix all these things, and hopefully by then they'll have added a bunch of weapons and classes, which are, you know, always more strong than the things that are in the game already, because there's that power creep to keep people playing. So hopefully they'll be a bit more fun.
Well, that about wraps it up for us. Thank you for watching.
Before we extract real quick.
I'll help you. That's how
Fuck yeah, clutch revives!
Come on, hold.
Woo, clutch revive.
Try to keep the pause at the end of that so you can always
Fucking...
I'm stuck. I'm stuck. It's crushing me.